So I want to talk about hybrid systems where a lot of people get really confused and outraged and all these sorts of things because I have used hybrid systems for a very long time. And the reason I have is because of what we're talking about. Um, Up until, last year, we didn't have access to these primers that were good. And so I would not even touch a water-based primer because they were just practically garbage. I would always go with a vinyl sealer underneath the water base. And everybody goes, oh, you can't do that. Listen, guys, I got that from the chemist from CIC. And I just want to tell you guys that actually when he tests a lot of his water bases, that is the system that he uses. So this is a tried and true system. You ask anybody in finishing that knows anybody, and vinyl sealer is compatible with every water base I have tested on the market, except for Target coatings. All right, forget about that stuff. Don't worry about it. But you can actually run vinyl sealer under the Enduro stuff, for guys that are using that. But so let's talk about why everybody's always asking us, what's the deal with the vinyl sealer, guys? All right, so what is the big deal about vinyl sealer?
Vinyl sealer is basically the Ferrari, in my mind, of primers and seal coats. I started using vinyl sealer, I want to say close to 10, maybe 12 years ago, maybe a little bit more. I had a friend, a very good finisher. His name's Ed. Ed Gonzalez does beautiful finish work. And I was in a home. I was hired to paint all the interior molding of the house. And we were running with serious adhesion issues everywhere in the house. We had some areas where we got good bite and other areas we didn't. And I was using the XIM bonding primer. The problem with the XIM bonding primer, it's a beautiful primer. That stuff works great, but it has no cover at all. It's very translucent.
Yeah.
But it's a great primer, and anything will stick to it. You can spray solvent on top of it. You can spray lacquer on top of it. So I was telling him about this issue because all the casings, when we sanded them back, they were some kind of 70s color of pink. They were some kind of 70s oil-based pink color. And I was complaining and crying and, the whole 9 yards. I was having these issues. And he goes, well, damn, Dennis, you know this. Go get some vinyl sealer and spray them with vinyl sealer. Same thing. He goes, yeah, just go get some vinyl sealer. I go, like, they have white vinyl sealer? He goes, no, clear vinyl sealer is fine. Just go get clear. It's fine. Put clear vinyl sealer. That's gonna give you something to finish to. And I said, what? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. So there's a distributor out here that we buy it from. And I picked up a couple gallons, and we went through and we sprayed everything with vinyl sealer first. And after that, we sprayed lacquer over the top of it. And stuff stuck, scratched it, beat it up, and didn't come off. And the build from the vinyl sealer, because of the high resin content and the polymers or whatever it is inside there, I believe it has a real high resin content. I mean, the stuff is beautiful. So I started from that day on, I only use vinyl sealer. I stopped using lacquer undercoat, and we just used 100% vinyl sealer and pigmented white, and of course clear for our natural finishes. And it's been an awesome system. And then talking with you and listening to the chemist from CIC talking about it under these water-based finishes, I was like, well, let's try it. And I think the second or third render job I did, we finished all the doors in white vinyl sealer and sanded them back, and then painted them, and it was very successful. And the speed, the main reason we use the vinyl sealer is really, for one, it has a great water resistance, which is what we are all looking for.
Yeah.
Not going to have the solvent resistant like a 2K primer.
Right.
Okay. It's not going to have that. But people are not putting solvent mostly on their cabinets. It's all water damage. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And this has an incredible water resistant factor to it. So we use it. I put it underneath. We sand it back. I can spray a whole set of doors in white vinyl sealer in the morning flip spray both sides, and be ready to put my first coats of Waterbase by the end of the day. And typically get one coat on the back and one coat on the front using, I'm talking 40 doors, you know, not 40, 40, say 40 to 45 pieces. So that would be maybe 7 to 10 drawer fronts and the rest door.
Yeah.
I can do that with my guys. We can do that in a day. Well, I mean, that's a big time saver. If I did it in renter, it would probably be a day and a half.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more than a day and a half, because you got to wait for that renter to dry.
Yeah.
A nice, warm, hot day, how we cheat on using the renter is I pretty much don't put heat on the material. I heat the doors up. So I'll take the doors and I'll put them out in the sun for a little while and let those doors warm up a little bit. And then you spray the 643 primer on them, and it really does flash it a lot faster. Now, I know not everybody can do that. We have a very big shop, so it makes it a lot easier. We have a lot of space. So we can take those doors and set them out in the sun for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and then lay them on the racks and then shoot them. And that'll help pick up the speed. But with the vinyl sealer, we don't have to do that. Vinyl sealer, it could be, 64 degrees, 67 degrees in the morning, and shoot them. And before lunchtime, by 11 o'clock, they're ready to sand.
Yeah. And I want to talk about this too, is like, not only is it the speed, but the surface it gives you is just, I mean, it makes it so easy for the Waterbase. That's how I've been able to achieve over the years to compete with solvent guys, is that secret right there, the vinyl sealer, because it gives me that perfect surface to put the Waterbase over it. You get no grain raising, none of that stuff. I mean, it's beautiful. Now, so what I would always do with dark colors, because dark colors can be an issue with Waterbase, is I have the ability with the products that I use, they can do an exact color match with the vinyl sealer. And I'll run 2 coats of base coat and then 1 to 2 coats of clear. And it's unbelievable the look that you can get.
Well, that's an awesome system. I mean, they've been using that in automotive for 100 years or more. Base coat, clear coat. What we started having to do basically is the same kind of system in our solvents, because here in California, we're down to a 275 VOC. So what that means for people who don't know about VOC content, I mean, they've pretty much taken like 70% of the guts out of the material. I mean, they've reformulated it with other resins and other materials, but it's not really as durable as it used to be. So what we do is the sink section, like the sink doors, and maybe if there's a dishwasher door, what we'll do is we label those, and then those particular pieces, because that's the only area you ever have any problems. If there's a tip out, the sink tip out, the sink doors, the dishwasher panel, and if there's a trash pullout, those are the ones that you have the issue with. So we'll mark those doors, and then what we'll do if we do run lacquer, we go back to lacquer for half a second. I run a coat of vinyl sealer and then a top coat over the top of them, and then from there, then you get a lot more longevity. You're getting into that 3 to 5 year range of durability, because it's got to break through the clear, it's got to break through the vinyl sealer, then it's got to break through the finish, and then it's got to break through the vinyl sealer that's underneath it.
Right.
And I mean, like I said, going back to that, because I know I jump around a little bit, we have customers, we have clientele that give us certain specifications on the materials they want to use. We don't have a choice.
Right.
That's what they pay for us to use, so that's what we use. We do, as you know, we run multi-systems in the shop. We don't just run one system, so we kind of have to be a master of all of them. But if it was up to me, I would probably be running the hybrid system all the time. It would be vinyl sealer with 851 over the top of it. Done.
Yeah.
If it was up to me.
Yeah.
And then people have to realize is that this is about a trade and putting out the best product, but it's also about making a living also, and you can't spend 10 days or 2 weeks on one kitchen, because that takes you back down to making $14 or $12 an hour.
Yeah. So
that don't work. And some of these other systems, they just take too long to dry.
Yeah.
So if it's fine if you're spraying the doors and you can spray them and put them away and work on something else. But when you're in the home spraying and you got to wait 6 hours or 8 hours for it to dry, that's a lot. You got a crew of 2 or 3 guys and you send them over there and you get it all ready and you spray it. And then what? Now you got to go home.
Yep.
Wait for it to dry. So that's not very efficient. With running the vinyl sealer, pigmented vinyl sealer underneath, I can finish a whole kitchen after it's bagged and prepped and sanded. I can do the whole finishing system in one day.
Yeah.
Primer, sand, fill, fine coat of primer, sand, and then ready for spray finish, 2 coats.
Yep.
So, there it is,
All right. So one of the things I want to go back and talk about is that I am a big proponent of tinting my vinyl sealers to the colors that I'm doing because of some of the things that we talked about. And a lot of guys don't understand why I'm so adamant about that, but it does 2 things for you. Number one, it helps you with your top coat coverage because some of the coverage on these water-based, they're like almost translucent. And so it basically gives you color underneath it. So also if you ever have damage, if you go into one layer to the next, then you've got some color in there. And, a lot of guys are like, why don't you just run a gray? Why don't you just run a wet? Well, it's because of where I came from with this water-based stuff. That's the reason why I've developed that system. And I'm actually talking to companies right now to develop those systems in water-based so that we can do full water-based systems. And so right now, today, I'm doing a test on some of that. And Envirolac actually has a base for tinted sealers. And they also, get this, man, this is pretty cool. For the dark colors, they have a thickener that you can add to it because we all know that dark colors thin the material, you lose your vertical hang, so you can put the thickener in it to get the same vertical hang you would get with a white.
That's sick. That's game changing right there.
Absolutely.
No, I'm on the same page. If you look at any of my projects that we do, if it's solvent or water based, our primer is very close to the color that we're finishing. It drives me nuts when I see guys spraying white primer and then they spray black over the top.
Oh my gosh, I know.
It drives me batty because the first little ding or chip that you get, what are you going to see? You're going to see the white primer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that for many, many years. So if we're painting now this is in water based or solvent. If we're painting a cabinet green, the base of the primer is going to be green. If we're painting a cabinet gray, the base of the primer is going to be gray. If we're painting a cabinet blue, it might not be, depending on the darkness of the blue, but it might be a darker gray, but it's going to be something very close to the color.
Yeah.
And guys, if you guys do this, we're running solvent underneath. If you guys do this, let me tell you something. It will help you in your coatings like you've never seen. It will help you in your coverage like you've never seen. It's amazing, the difference.
Yeah.
You have a gray primer, you're running a gray top coat over the top of it, it's game changing. I mean, it makes it so much easier, and so that's how we do it. If I get a chip in one of my doors, the customer's not going to ever see it because It has to go all the way down through the natural wood before they see it.
Right.
So what is that, guys? That's less callbacks. Now, if you're spraying a dark gray and you got a white primer underneath it and you chip it, you're going to see the white chip. Mm-hmm. They're going to call you and say, "Oh, my paint's chipping," and now you got to go out there and fix it. So it saves you so much time. I mean, it's insane. So the paint shouldn't chip, but it's paint. Let's be real. It gets damaged. The stuff is not impervious. I mean, they have automotive finishes. If a rock hits it, it chips it.
Right.
Oh, come on.
Right.
Yeah. And the same thing with even the best of the European coatings. Somebody comes by with their keychain or something like that, and they hit a corner, they can chip.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but I'm on the same page when it comes to that. I mean, I think if guys took the time to do those processes, tighten up their priming and tighten up their prep work is crucial. If I can touch on one other thing, I get a lot of comments and I get a lot of questions about the smoothness of doors. The smoothness of doors. If I'm running a solvent system, I can spray 35 doors all laid out at the same time, in the booth or on the side of the booth. I can spray them all. With the European coatings or any of these water bases, you can't. And the main reason is, guys, this will help you when you guys are doing your jobs. You really have to have a separate place to spray, even if it's not a spray booth, whatever it is. You have to have a different place to spray and a place where you store your doors. And the reason is because the way the water base sets, when it falls onto another door, it dries immediately. It don't dry fast on the job, but that air and that little particle that falls through the air and lands on the project, you feel it. So when we spray doors, we typically spray probably 3 to 5 doors at a time so that they're wet, and then they get put away right away. They get put away in racks and they get put away in a safe place. So the one thing I can tell you is, as you spray each door, go door by door. And I don't like to tack cloth. I don't like to use tack cloths. I know some people do. I don't. I like to use the bare of my hand and air. Okay. And you feel that door with your hand. If you guys ever see me doing cleanup, or if you ever see me getting ready to spray doors, you'll see me wipe the door, and then I'm dragging it on my shorts, or I'm dragging it on my back. And I'll wipe the door and I'm blowing it and I'm wiping off the dust on my back until I feel that door silky, buttery smooth. And if it doesn't go away, then what do? We get a little bit of Scotch pad, or we get a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper, and we knock it off, because that will transmit through your finish, and that will give you that gritty feel on the face of your doors. So, I mean, that's another tip I can throw out there that will help. On the spray rack that you guys are finishing, make sure you got enough distance between the door and whatever you have underneath it. If you're 5 or 6 inches away, you're going to get blowback. I don't care if you're using an HVLP or if you're using a turbine or whatever, you're going to get blowback. And basically the finish is coming down at this angle. It hits the surface and then it blows back to the back of the door. And that's why the back of the doors are so rough. These guys, I hear a lot of people complain about that. If you raise that up a little bit higher, and really watch your angles when you're spraying, you should be spraying. How do I do this? You need to be spraying straight up and down like this as you're spraying.
Yeah.
You're spraying like this up and down. If you guys, I have a lot of videos on Instagram. You guys can all see me spraying. Your hands got to be straight up and down like a robot almost. Okay. So as you catch an edge, this is all the movement that you need is this. So you're spraying. Say you start on the corner of the door. You spray the corner of the door. Boom, 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 boom. Spray. As you get to the back end of the door, this is all you need is this little bit of tilt like this. And that's going to spray the other side of the door. And then you box it from the other side. So you're starting this way. And then as you get to the center of the panel, you're spraying straight. And then just the last edge of the corner, you hit it again. That's the best advice I can give when it comes to spraying. I mean, that's going to help you guys tremendously. Clean the doors thoroughly before you spray each door. Make sure there's no little stippling or bumps on the door before you spray it, and then spray. If you're that concerned about it, then you can also go through the extra process, which I would never do, is bag the back of the doors off. Get some frog tape. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just make a quick pass of frog tape. I use a lot of painter's plastic, the blue 3M no stick. You can use paper, whatever you want. Go through the process of bagging off the back of the doors, and then you can have a field day and spray it sideways in every which way you want. You're not going to have to worry about it.
Right.
You know, that's the only other way to do that. When we spray conversion varnish, sometimes we do bag the backs of the doors because conversion varnish floats like oil. You know, it floats like oil. So sometimes we will bag the back of conversion varnish doors, but any other finish, we really don't have any issues at all.
Yeah.
Nothing that a brown paper bag can't fix.
Right. But basically what the guy did was he took a 4-inch toilet flange at the bottom, put it on a Lazy Susan, took a 4-inch pipe to the top, put another toilet flange on it, and you drape a rag over it. That bottom surface is so small that all the fall from it goes straight down to the floor because you've got nothing underneath it. Some guys are using, paint cans, and I've done that, but you just got to get it high enough that if it hits that surface, it's not going to bounce back. But that's a good little spray setup, and you can just kick it with your foot if you're shooting, one door at a time. Now, Dennis has a setup where he's running nail boards, but the reason why it works so well for him is because he has nothing underneath it. It's the same concept. So, and the nail board is you're only running like an inch or a 3/4 inch nail.
Range, so the finish goes straight down. There's nothing that back off of any of those at all.
So that's the trick, is making sure that you have something where you don't have a lot of surface area underneath it. Now, another trick you can do, and what I've done, is you can put, you put rags underneath that, and it kind of catches it. Now, you still can get a little, and some of the 2K water bases are worse. Your 1Ks, and some of the coatings that I use, like CIC, is not an issue because it actually burns into itself, and you can paper bag it right out. But that would be my recommendation, and that's why it works so well for Dennis. And what he's doing is that, he's shooting on nail boards, and there's just nothing underneath it, so it's all falling down. So, all right. So
you got to be real careful with the nail boards. I mean, we're very delicate when we put the nails.
Yeah.
I mean, you're baby setting that door down, like, you're baby setting the door. And mind you, it's got a 2K finish on the back, so the finish is very durable. And you bump a door, you just scratch that door, so you got to reach back of the door. Right. So we try to be really careful with them. But it's all about speed. It's all about time. It's all about production for us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. All right. So while we're talking about spraying, let's get into the debate with airless and sprayers, because I don't have any idea, but you get the most crap from anybody on the planet about using an airless sprayer. And before we talk about that, I do want to talk about I do want to bring up one more thing with vinyl sealer. And this is something that you actually taught me, and I've been using it. And dude, it's just unbelievable. It's like, you freaking bury the vinyl sealer, man.
You want me to tell the guys what I'm spraying my vinyl sealer with?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want me to be honest? Okay, you guys see me spraying, and you see me spraying a million miles an hour. And the reason is because I lay my vinyl sealer on with a 314 tip. I mean, it is a heavy, heavy coat. And when we spray our doors, we spray them with a 314 tip. I thin the vinyl sealer maybe 10%, and it's just, sometimes I don't have to thin it at all. But when we get a warm day, it just kind of wants to get a little stipply out of when it comes out on the panel. It's not laying down real nice. So it's just to help it. On the face of the door, sometimes I'll run just a little bit of retarder to help it to flow out a little bit. But we run a 314 tip. I run 312s too, but I like running 314. I bury the hell out of it. We run two heavy coats on it, and I mean, it's hard to see through it. I mean, the last job that we did, I went live on Facebook. The last one we did, that was on poplar, and you couldn't even see the grain of the poplar. So think about that. I mean, and then we're going back and we're machine sanding it with an orbit sander with 320 grit.
Yeah.
We got the Festool running at probably between 4 and 5 on the speed, and I got 2 of them running at the same time, block sanding it, flattening it all out. Yeah. I mean, you can't see nothing when it's done, But I know it probably goes past the recommended wet mills, but I don't read data sheets anyways, so I don't care. I know what it looks good. I know what it feels right, and I know at the end of the day when we're done sanding it, we're probably down to what the recommended dry mills, because we sand it pretty aggressively.
Yeah. Well, and tell guys, so like I hadn't been putting it on that heavy. But I ran the last 2 jobs and I freaking buried it. And let me tell you, the issue that I've had a lot with vinyl sealer is you getting burn throughs. And buddy, I ain't getting no burn throughs now, man.
I got plenty of videos posted on that, and watching my guys sanding doors. I mean, we're hammering on the sander, and you hardly ever get burn through. So if you do get a little bit of burn through, here's the quick fix. Couple of the companies pump it into spray cans. I have it in spray cans, and you can do white, or you can even use clear. You don't have to put a pigment over the top of it. Right. All you want to do is where you burn through, you got to seal that little section.
Yeah.
So you can definitely just take a spray can, a vinyl sealer, and just touch that little area just to fill that area back up, and then light sand it by hand, and you're done and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Very rare we get burned through. So once in a while we get one of the new guys that's still fresh. He gets a little gun happy with the sander and he'll burn
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
We try not to burn through the primer.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I want to bring up along with the spray cans is that Annex actually, and I used to do this all the time. Like when I run refinishes, I always have them pour off some and give me a spray can of the actual color of the sealer. And that way, like if you're on the job or something and you have a burn through it, you've already switched over, you just pss, pss, pss. And you can leave that with the customer because they're always asking about touch-ups and things like that. And you leave that and you leave a little spray can, a top coat, and you go, this is your primer, this is your top coat. And, if you need me to come out and do it, we'll do it. But you've got it available to you.
I know Sherman Williams also does it. So when we run solvent, especially when we run so many different colors. When we run solvent, what I do is I have usually each color that I have done, I have him pump a spray can of each. And I give it to the customer for touch-up repair work, and I show them how to do it. I show them right there. I walk them through how to use it if they need it. And I mean, it's a lifesaver because you could probably, with one spray can, you could probably spray one or two doors, the whole face door, So, and it's so easy to use. They have these real nice, if you remember the Deft spray cans, the clear.
Oh man, love those things, buddy.
So the fan pattern is the same. So you could, if you take the door and you put it at about a 45-degree angle, you could take and you could probably spray 2 or 3 doors with one spray can. So they love it. They love it. There's another couple companies that can actually put these water-based coatings into aerosol spray cans also.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. For touch-ups, and they work okay. They work fine. For touch-ups, they work great. So if you needed to do a little vinyl sealer, you could just run a little vinyl sealer and then just have 2-3 passes and done. And it fixes the repair, no issues. These Renners and Malaysies and all these other materials, I mean, they're pretty easy to fix. They're pretty easy to repair. So that's we do the same thing. It works awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about sprayers. All right, man. So why do you get so much crap, dude? I don't get it.
I think that a lot of people, I don't want to say be misled, but I think a lot of people have, there's a couple people out there pushing these certain sprayers, and I think they work great. I've used them. I've used Titan. I've used quite a few other turbine sprayers. They work great. That, to me, is a DIY machine, in my opinion. Okay. That's not a commercial machine. Okay. You're not going to spray 100 doors with that type of machine. Somebody who does a kitchen a week or somebody who does a kitchen every 2 or 3 weeks, I think that's fine. But the issue that I have is for the amount of money that you're going to put into that machine. I mean, you're talking about, one of these turbine systems. I'm not going to say a name, but any one of these turbine systems, a nice turbine system, $2,500, maybe more. Okay. And you come with a lot of issues with that. You come, especially in the water-based coatings, you come with microfoaming. You come with, orange peel. You need to be kind of almost a semi-professional finisher because you need to be able to know how to adjust that to fix it.
Yeah.
I can pick up any gun. I could pick up a cup gun from Harbor Freight and I'll make a coating look good. You can also. Why? Because you know what it takes to do it. People who are new to it that want to start spraying for the first time, I think they're going to struggle with those machines. It's going to take them a lot of learning. You yourself have told me that you had issues in the beginning, and you still had issues even after the much experience that you had with microfoaming, with the finish not looking the way you want it. And then the only way you can make it look good really is to thin the material.
Yeah. We
don't thin our materials hardly ever. I mean, 5%, Italian coatings, I don't thin at all. 0. We spray them with what I like to spray with, and that is an airless. The airless that we're using right now, which I'm going to buy another $395 here just for the water-based coating. But the airless that we're running right now is an X5. I think that airless system is $268. And the reason why I started using that is because we were running these pro industrial coatings, and I wasn't doing them every day. We were doing them, one a month, one every 2 months, but we needed something to spray those finish with, and I didn't want to contaminate my solvent rigs.
Right.
I got 4 $395 Gracos, and I didn't want to contaminate those. So I said, okay. One day I was at a yard sale or swap meet or something like that, and I seen one, and that one was cheap. I mean, it was like $165. Took it back to the shop, cleaned it, and I ran that machine up until November or December of this year. That little X5 probably lasted me 4 or 5 years. And we're doing two, 3 jobs a month running the water-based coatings, and then I started using it a lot for renter. So for $268, you got a gun that sprays perfectly every single time. I mean, it's like playing the game of golf and somebody giving you a golf club and says you're not going to slice it ever. You're going to hit it straight. Let me think. What am I going to do? Am I going to get the one that I'm going to have issues with, or am I going to get the one that you pull it out of the bag and it goes straight down the fairway? It's not hard. Okay. And, with the experience that I had using the fine finish tips already, I mean, it's a game changing machine, and if I want the fan to be smaller, I put a smaller tip in it. I'm sure you probably have 25 or 30 airless tips around, and I have 25 or 30 airless tips around. If you're running any kind of system, you got to change your tips all the time. You got on these turbines too. You got to change the needles on them. They wear out. They can say that they don't, but they do. From cleaning and from wear and tear and washing them and scrubbing them and the material use, they wear out. The tips wear out. I have $600-700 Iwata spray guns. I have a $800 Binks 2-quart pot system. And you have to change the needles sometimes, and you got to change the tips on them because they wear out, or they get dinged, or they get banged, or what have you. You pull a tip out of one of those and it hits the floor, that tip's ruined. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the airless just made it so easy. So you think about it, I can spray a 308 tip on all the flat surfaces, all the doors. You can run a 408 if you want, if you have big panels. And you get this fan. You get this perfect fan that lays the material down. I mean, the width of my hand, the fan you spray it and it just lays the material right down like glass. I mean, my 21-year-old kid doesn't know nothing about finishing. He's a helper, and I had him spray some doors. He's never sprayed nothing before in his life. And I just said, hold it 5 inches or 7 inches off the material, go back and forth, go to the end of the door, come back, go back and forth, come back. It looked just like one of the doors that I had sprayed. And he's like, I'm good, ain't I? I said, oh, yeah. I said, you're good. Yeah, you're good. But it just makes it easy. So it comes back down to this. It comes back down to what everybody keeps saying is material wastage. It comes down to material wastage. So I've gotten to the point now spraying 2K that I don't typically have more than what's left in half of the line. So I'm going to say probably maybe 4 to 6 ounces of waste.
Yeah.
After it's done. You could have that with the pot gun all day long too.
Sure.
You're going to have waste. What do I care about the waste? I charge the customer for the materials. When I buy, I don't buy estimating I'm going to use exactly 2.5 gallons of material. I buy 3.5 gallons. What's another $60 or $80? What's another $100 in the relation to a whole kitchen? After you're done, you got a gallon left over, you give it to the customer as a gift. You tell them, if you ever have any issues, we got the same color match, we got the same pigment, we got the same everything. Here you go. It's probably pretty much close to enough to respray all your doors. And here you go. At the end, what did you lose? You lost $90 or $100 on a $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 refinish. It's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. That's the way. And then the speed. Have you ever seen somebody spray with the turbine system?
Yeah.
Painstaking. It's painstaking, you know. I run a production shop. I got 4 guys plus myself. That system, for my system, it just doesn't work. I think the turbines are good for single doors. I think it's a great machine for touch-up repairs. If you had to go in and you had to spray one panel or something like that, and you didn't want to set up a bunch, you could just set up what you need for, but then there's cup guns for that also. There's pressure fed air cup guns that you could use and it'd be the same system. And guys use those also, So to buy a turbine system, for me, it just doesn't make sense, I want something that I'm going to pull the trigger on and it's going to spray beautifully.
The problem with the Waterbase is these Italian coatings, like we said, they want to be put on heavy. In order to do that with even a gravity fed gun, and I've had the good fortune of being around some Italian guys and watching them spray. Matter of fact, I think I have a video on my Instagram feed where I have one of the guys from Renner spraying. He did like 5 or 6 passes on this door when he was shooting the Renner 851. Okay.
What system?
It was a Kremlin HTI gun, which those guns will shoot really well water-based. But the point I'm trying to make is he had to make 5 passes to get it wet enough. Okay. So he went choo, 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 turn it, choo, 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 turn it, choo, choo, choo. Okay. That works great in a lab. But let's imagine that you have to do that for a kitchen where you have 120 something pieces. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. The same thing with a turbine system. Okay. You're only going to get so much material out of that thing. It's the same thing. So when I shoot with a turbine and I'm shooting Malacy, okay, I thin it with water pretty substantially. I know about how much to thin it. And when I actually shoot the door or the face frame or whatever, I'm making 4 passes on the thing. It's not one, I'm done. It's like bam, 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 bam. Then I'm coming bam, bam, bam. And I'm doing that, which is fine. If that's the way you want to shoot, you do have a lot of control. You're able to go back and hit something more than once. With the airless, you don't have that. So I think it's a personal choice, but I think I want people to understand, what you're up against. Now, people will say, okay, go to a bigger needle set. The problem is when you go to like a 1.8 with a turbine, you don't have enough back pressure on the needle. So when I run a turbine system with these Italian coatings, I thin it and I crank the thing as high as it'll go. And I use the smallest tip I can. It's like a 1.3 or a 1.5 because it puts more back pressure on it so I can get more atomization out of it. So that's the key if you want to shoot these things and you want it to come out. And then sometimes, depending on the situation, you're going to also have to add retarder to it. The LTC5 or Renner has a retarder and all these things. And you're also breaking the back of the coating too when you do this, and you're killing the vertical hang. So these are just things that you have to consider. So let me talk about my opinion on, the waste factor. All right. Now, I came from HVLP and turbines because the early water bases were thin. Okay. If you shot it with airless, it's what you're talking about. It had been on the floor. It didn't make a lot of sense. Okay. But you do a box coat, which we're calling 2 coats on a door, and you measured the mil thickness, it's going to be half of what you're going to be putting on with the airless. So let's just assume you have a gallon of paint.
Maybe less.
Okay. All right, sure. Well, let's just say it's half. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're using less material, but you're also putting less on the surface. So all these things have to be taken into consideration when people are making these judgments about this stuff. And I think they need to be realistic about it. And I don't care either way. I have the turbine systems. I love them. But I will tell you that with a lot of the stuff I'm doing now, I'm running airless because honestly, on the flip side of it is I'm getting better results. And we're even talking about air assisted airless. Like I struggled for a year with air assisted airless. Now I can get most of the water bases to work, but there again, I'm having to thin and do things because air is your enemy with water-based coating, especially with air assisted airless. Now, when you go to a cup gun, let me tell you about the pressures you're running on these things to get these things to shoot right. We're talking 30 to 40 pounds of air pressure to get these things to shoot. Yeah. So you got to consider that. Now, when you're doing that, dude, you're freaking, you talk about waste, man, you're blowing it all in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And again, you're going to have to make a lot of those coats. Now, one guy that does make it work, but you got to watch how he shoots is John, I'm probably going to mispronounce his name, Coppola. He's on there, and he uses a lot of the Sonic guns, but he's using automotive guns. And the thing about some of those automotive guns that he's using is they have a very high flow rate. But if you watch him shoot, he is about 3 or 4 inches on the surface, and his overlap is very significant. Like it's not 50%, it's like 25% overlap, so that he can get it wet enough to keep it. With an airless, you don't have all these things. So it honestly, like you said, if you get an airless system and you get the right tips like we're telling you to use, it's going to be a lot easier entry to the game. Like using these other systems take a whole lot more experience to run them right. You'll appreciate this, man. Don Applegate from Tritech in his kitchen, and he posted something like, "I'm no Eric Reason, but I'm going to attempt to spray my kitchen." And I said, "Listen, man, I promise you, if you run the 310s on your primer and you run a 308 with your top coat, it's going to look exactly like mine. If you have any sort of ability to spray," and I know he does because he works for a spray company. He sent me a picture today, and I posted it on Facebook.
Factory.
And it looks like a freaking sheet of glass. So, and we got guys now too. We got some of these young guys that are starting off. Some pictures of the Malaysia stuff. Dude, what did it look like? It looked exactly what we were getting. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm just trying to, we just want to help these guys out.
So Don, yeah, man, he's laying it out and he's like super happy. And I said, man, I told you, dude, the right equipment with the right tips and you're fine. And I want to go back for a minute and talk about that little X5, dude. I shot an $80,000 kitchen, and you've seen it. I mean, it's beautiful, dude. I mean, it's a very unique kitchen. It's all MDF panels, and it looks like wainscoting.
What it is, even that cheapy gun, that X5 gun. I mean, it's not the most expensive gun, but it's lightweight. I mean, it's just easy to roll. I mean, enough people who know me on here, who've seen me on here, they know, that I spray a lot with an airless. And the maneuverability you can get, most of the jobs that we're spraying the boxes, I would say 90% of it we're spraying with a 208 tip.
Okay.
So my fan is, about this wide, maybe, just over 4 inches or right under 4 inches. The fan is perfect for face frames, even for finish panels. I mean, it sprays beautifully. Like I said, I'm going to upgrade to another 395, but, we got a lot of stuff going on. We got COVID going on, I mean, I've been working this whole time, but it's not nearly what we normally work. I mean, we do a lot of kitchens, we do on average probably between 2 to 3 kitchens a week. So, complete kitchens. So, it hasn't been that much because of what's been going on lately. But, if I was to recommend somebody who was starting out in the finish industry and they were rolling and brushing Malaysia, or they were rolling and brushing Renner or what have you, and they wanted to try spraying, go and buy you a little X5 or go and buy you something comparable, an X19 or something comparable to one of those airless systems. And let me tell you something. The first doors that you spray are going to blow your socks off. You're going to get results like a professional. I mean, here's the second thing. You're starting out. Okay? You're starting out. You don't even know if you're going to like spraying. Why would you go and invest $2,000 or $3,000 on a rig that you don't even know if it's going to work for you? The 655 Titan that you purchased, right?
Yep.
A friend of mine was a house painter for many, many years, and he wanted to spray cabinets. He's seen the money I was making. He's going to be a cabinet finisher. Did one job, and that job killed him. And not literally, but
yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
3 months later, he called me and says, "Hey, you want to buy that 655?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I thought you were going to start finishing cabinets." He goes, "No, dude." It's like, "I'm done." He's like, "I can't do that. I'm not going to take the time. It's too much work, yada, yada, yada." I grabbed that gun from him and I started using it. And it's a diaphragm gun. I liked it, and I know you love the diaphragm.
Yep.
I don't know if it was just a bad gun or what, but I had nothing but issues with that gun. I had issues with the siphoning. I had issues with the plugging. And, maybe I didn't have fine enough mesh inside the gun to handle that. So that might have been something I was dealing with. But shortly after I got the X5, and then I've been using the X5 for my water-based finishes since. But the controllability you get with the fan size, I mean, you can buy a 108 tip.
Yep.
You can get a 108 tip. If people are talking about they're worried about considering about how much material waste, you can get a 108 tip, and then you're basically going to be spraying the same fan pattern that they're spraying on their turbines.
Yep.
You're going to be spraying a fan pattern about this big. You're going to make 20 passes on the door to cover, but you won't have to, though. Even with an airless, you won't have to. You probably still get it done in 4 or 5 passes, and you'll be done. We use a 308 because of the speed of it. Basically, I mean, you hit the door 1, 2, 3 times, and on a 20-something inch door, you've covered the first coat on the door, and then you box it the other direction. I mean, by the time that paint starts to lay down, when you go to set it in the rack, I mean, it looks like you poured water all over it. I mean, it's about as smooth as can be.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't want to knock on nobody no more about using their Apollos or using their turbines or using their Titan, turbine or what have you. Use what you enjoy using. Use what works for you. But for me, for the applications that we apply, it's just not fast enough for what we do. And that when it comes to the material waste, we're cutting pennies here. And to me, labor is twice as expensive, 3 times as expensive as the paint.
Well said. Yeah.
There you go. So if you're worried about saving a couple bucks, if you count the hours that you spent messing around with that little gun, you'd probably save. Let's be honest. If you've sprayed many kitchens with a turbine.
Yeah, I have.
You sprayed lots of them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think of a number in my head, and let's say the hours. How much time have you saved? On using an airless on a kitchen.
I mean, I don't really. To me, the time factor is irrelevant, and the material uses is irrelevant. What I'm looking at is the result.
The results.
Yeah. So I don't really care if it takes me half the time. Like, even if it took me more time, I want to use whatever's going to give me the best results.
You're right there.
So, I mean, like I said, I'm interested in the debate. I think that the systems have them. All I'm getting at is that there's a lot of there's the results and the benefits, and look, I have made enough waves with these airless things with these companies that they're asking me how I'm getting such good results with their products, because they have major users, and these users are having all kinds of issues. I'm really more interested in talking about pump systems than I am the other systems, because in reality, a lot of what we're doing, like, it just doesn't make sense unless it's something small. Like, am I going to get out my airless to go shoot a little vanity in a house? Probably not. Am I going to get out my airless to go do some touch-up work? Probably not. If I got a whole kitchen to shoot, I'm going to be pulling out the airless, every time. So, but getting back to what I'm saying, I mean, look, I have ICA, CIC. The guys from Malaysia already kind of know what's up with the airless thing. The guys from Circa already know what's up with the airless thing. But I got the guys from ICA, CIC, and then obviously we could probably talk about this story, but we're getting long on our time here. But I've been telling Daniel from MK Sales about the airless thing, and then you had an experience with Marco, and I want you to tell that story in here in a second. But it works.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, do I still get some something that has a serious issue with macrofoam? Do I still get a bubble once in a while? Yes, but it's significantly less, and the results are just unbelievable. When you send a picture of a spray out with something that guys have had a lot of trouble with, and it looks like a sheet of glass. Miles Woolley, he's like, dang. And we had a conversation about this, and here's what he said. He's like, you know what? If it's working, why fight it? You know? And I said, absolutely. I just turned the boat around and I'm paddling downstream.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell the story about Marco and the X5, because I think it's a really good story.
Well, before we get to the Marco, I'm just going to real quick touch on this. We both have a mutual acquaintance, Matt from Insta Sprayers, and we'll both agree he is a phenomenal finisher.
Absolutely.
I mean, the guy is by far next level UK. Can I say badass?
Yeah, absolutely.
Badass finisher, okay? And he talked with you many times, and back and forth, and he talked with me. And the last conversation that I had with him, he was having problems with microfoaming. He was having problems with the consistency. He's like, Dennis, F this Waterbase. I'm done with it. Yep. And he's like, are you being serious? He's like, Dennis, be honest with me. Be 100% honest with me. Is this the system that you're running? And I said, yes. I'm not going to lie to you. Told him exactly the system that I told you. 643. Catalyze the 643. Sand the catalyst 643. And then spray it. I said, he uses an air assist. Take your air assist, pump the pump pressure up, bring your air pressure down a little bit, and spray it. And then tell me how it sprays. I mean, he did a big shout out, to me, saying, damn, and he took his air assist and he turned it into basically an airless.
Yep.
By cranking the pump up and bringing the air pressure down. And I mean, it was game changing. So going on to probably maybe 2 months ago, Marco came over to my shop personally to drop off some material. I needed a color match. I needed it done the next day. And let me tell you, this company, I mean, I'm close to them, you guys. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't, but, and relatively speaking close, I'm 46 miles from his shop. He personally drove the material down and dropped it off to me the next day. I ordered it on a Tuesday. It was at my door at 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. So he comes in and we're talking, and Marco is very flamboyant, and he's a great guy. And he goes, well, let me see some doors that you're spraying. You're spraying Renner, right? And I go, yeah, I got some in the booth. So I showed him some doors, and he goes, man, those look great. And I go, well, you want to see what I'm spraying them with? He goes, yeah, let's see. I want to see.
He's like, are you spraying it with a Cobra?
Yeah. He's like, let me see the Cobra. Well, what do they sell over there?
They sell a Wagner pump that's turned upside down, which actually would work really well for the Waterbase. So it's like it's basically an air assist, but it's turned upside down. But it's a 40-to-1 ratio.
Yes.
And that's what you need. You need a minimum of a 30-to-1 if you're going to use air assist with these Waterbase. So
they sell two. They sell the lower brand, which is like
that one.
Yeah. And then
they got the Cobras.
Yeah. The big one is like a $5,000. He's like, Dennis, for your shop, you need this big spray system. Let me get one in your shop. I'm gonna come. We'll install it. The whole 9 yards. And he goes, let me see what you're spraying with. I go, I got some doors I'm getting ready to run right now on 851. All right. I busted out this I call it my little ghetto spray gun, my X5, and he stood right over my shoulder, and I sprayed that panel out. And I swear, any of you people who know Marco, you ask him, tell the truth. How did the finish look with that X5? He sat there and watched me spray this finish, and he goes, "All right, I'll leave you alone." And he goes, "All right, I'll leave you alone. You're fine." He goes, "God," he could not believe how beautiful. He said he couldn't believe it, how that little machine could pump and spray the finish so beautiful. He's like, "I can't believe it." He goes, "Dennis, I cannot believe it." He said, "I wouldn't change a thing." And I said, "Well," I go, "this is what I've been telling you, the results I'm getting." He says, "There's only a handful of guys that are getting the results that you're getting right off the beginning." He says, "You just started using this material 6-8 months ago. Within the year, you started using this material." He's like, "The results that you're getting is game changing." I got guys that have been battling with this stuff for 2 or 3 years. And they have success, and then they don't have success. Then they have success, and they don't have success. Every single job that we spray looks like the day that we spray it.
Yep.
And listen, I don't want to be misleading to anybody, okay? I don't want to be misleading. Do we get runs? Yeah. Do we get sag sometimes? Yeah. But that's typically it's error from the guy who's running the gun.
Yep.
Because when you're spraying these water-based coatings, it's a fine line. The line that you run spraying these coatings to get it heavy enough so that you get that beautiful finish, it's a super fine line. And I think when I'm spraying on the coatings, I think I'm pretty close to probably 5 or 6 wet mills.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's real close to that. You get a quarter over that 5 or 6, and it's gonna cry on you.
Yep.
It's gonna cry, or you're gonna get a fat lip. Okay, but I mean, if I spray a whole kitchen and I get one, I get maybe one medium burn, maybe. And then maybe 1 or 2 little fat lips. That's nothing. Because the first coat, I'll run it, and that's when I'm going to see it. On the final coat, I hardly ever get it because, we're much more careful on that final coat.
Yeah.
And, so, it happens. But it can happen with solvent.
Sure.
You ask my lead guy who sprays with me all the time, I'm horrible on my backhand on the right side. It's always the right side of a frame that I run. It's never, if it's at me, it's never the left side. It's always the right side.
I have the same problem, man.
It's the backhand. It's the backhand when I bring the gun and I roll the gun around.
Yeah.
I hit one too many times, and it's always the right side. It's never as I'm going forward. It's always behind me.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's going to happen. So what? What do? What do I do? I'll tell you what I do is I wipe it right away. I wipe it, or I take a little piece of sponge or something, and I knock that heavy spot out, and then just let it dry. If you let the heavy sag stay in there, it's going to take a long time for it to dry because it's probably twice as much wet mill as the rest of the finish.
Absolutely.
So what I like to do is I like to just take a little sponge and just touch it, or I'll just take my finger and I'll pat the run a little bit with my finger, just really lightly touch it, and it kind of softens it up a little bit. Then put some fans on it, let it dry, and then sand it out. And then when you put your final coat, you're good to go.
Yep.
So
now we talked the other day. We're gonna try the foam roller deal. I'm gonna put one in my back pocket.
I'm gonna try a foam roller because, like I've told you, this is another tip, guys. This is another tip. I've had jobs where I had one piece of face frame that we got a sag in. And we already put the gun away, and it was in the 2K. And I've done it. I know you've done it a couple times. I sanded it out really lightly with really fine sandpaper. I'm talking like probably, 400 to 600. And just be very careful that you don't burn through the paint. Sand it out real nice and soft. And then I've taken it. You've done it. I take a little 2-inch cheapy foam weenie roller and just up and down 2 times. Make sure you stay in the line. So what I'll do, if it's a face frame, I'll tape the line off a little bit, so that it stays on the seam line. And then I'll just take it and run that thing 1 or 2 times real light, and then really roll it out so that it's tight, so the paint's tight. When that thing dries, you can't see it. It looks flawless.
Absolutely.
I've done that 2 or 3 times on flush jobs where the doors were flush inside the holes, and you couldn't see the difference.
Yeah.
So, if that's a helping hand, I'm sure that'll help a lot of people also.
Yeah, absolutely. And all right, Dennis, man. Well, thanks for coming out, and we're definitely going to have you back on again. there's so much more that you can offer the finish community. And I'm glad that I twisted your arm hard enough to get you over on Instagram and Facebook, because, man, you just really have so much to offer. And like I said, I mean, I'm even impressed myself with how far you've come with the water-based stuff in such a short time. I mean, I think even Marco was right about that. But, you know, you just got the right tools. And the other thing is like, if some of you guys out there are not on Instagram or Facebook, get on there, man, because there's a lot of guys on there that are willing to help you out. All right, man. We'll catch you next time, man. Thanks again.
All right, brother. We'll see you.